Hey guys, I know it's past 10:30, right? um, and if any of you know me, I'm very, very keen on being on time. And so I had to go get my headphones because I hate talking on live with my headphones on because they're going to be a little distortion. However, all seven of the dogs just went off together, right? There was woo, woo, woo and bark, bark, bark all going on. And I knew that if they continued, I wouldn't be able to concentrate on talking with you guys. So, so I had to get my headphones. So, who do we have here? We've got Rommel. Who else? I want to see you come in and say hi. Come in and say hi. Community and connection is so important right now. So, come in and say hi. Let me know that you're here because all I can see is bubbles at the top of my screen. So, I want to make sure that I answer your questions. I connect with you. If you have any insights, if you have any great insights to put in during this talk, I really hope you will be brave and share, because this is about teaching each other. It's about sharing our experiences and our wisdom and helping each other through this massive global shift. Oh, it's Romeo. Oh, thank you for telling me how to say your name. Romeo. Perfect. And I love you. I love you. I follow you. I love seeing the stories about your dogs. So keep sharing, because dogs are what light me up right now. Hi, Laura. Laura, you're here. Perfect. Perfect. So I'm sure you've all been wondering what's happening right now in the world. What's happening to us healers, those of us that are compassionate hearts, some of us that work in healthcare, like me. I'm a chiropractor by trade. And as you can probably guess, I am not practicing my craft right now. I'm in isolation. Actually, I'm in my working room right now. We are in lockdown, as in not because we're sick, but because we are protecting our family and protecting your families by segregating ourselves, more or less, right? Good morning, Tara. I'm so glad you made it. And so I wanted to share with you, hi, Natasha. I wanted to share with you some of my insight as a chiropractor, as a healthcare professional, about what's going on in the world, because I'm sure you noticed some of you, well, most of the people that I know are very energetically connected. Last week, we saw a surge of energy, didn't we? Some of it was fear-based, let's be real. A lot of us were, felt the fear, felt the, the impending doom, if you might call it, whether you call it that or not. And we went into massive action, didn't we? Went into massive action. Some people were hoarding. Some people were stockpiling. I know I filled my cupboards and my fridge in a way that didn't that I made sure didn't impose on anyone else. I was very choosy about what I stocked up with, and that's a natural reaction, isn't it? Hi, Justine and Rachel and Alicia and Sheila. Look at all these lovely friends. Say hello. And I want you guys this to be interactive. So when you come in, if you have comments or wisdom to share, please go ahead. I know I've got other healthcare practitioners on this live Zoom right now. I also know I've got spiritual leaders on this. And so this is collective wisdom. So I'm going to share with you what I know, because my background is in chiropractic. I also am a spiritual leader. And I have a huge geek on for mind-body connection, mind-body medicine. So how the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical bodies connect to each other and work together or against each other in times of stress and happiness. So what is happening to all of us right now? And I'm sure you felt it, haven't you? You felt it. You felt that first concern wave, which was us, of course, concerned about the outside world. My sister says, are you coming on? I'm already on, my friend. Concern about that outside world, about what's going on out there, what's going on in China, what's going on in Italy, across the European nations, and now flooding into all of North America and the rest of the world, what's going on out there. And we felt the hope, right? I mean, you guys are on here because you're my people. So the first thing you felt maybe was a little fear, but the second thing you felt was hope. How can you help, right? You're a natural helper. You're a natural carer. Maybe you're a healer by profession. Maybe that's just who you are on the inside. And so you felt that hope and that call to action. And then all of a sudden, and this happened to a lot of you, because I got a lot of messages. I talked to a lot of you on Saturday and Sunday and even yesterday. Many of us hit the wall. We hit the wall where we turned inside, and we actually disconnected from the world. And this is about hitting the wall en masse. I mean, you've heard the story from anybody who runs long distance or does a long distance endurance sport. You hit the wall. And the most important thing as a trained athlete is to find a way through the wall. And I'm telling you guys, and they will too, the way through the wall is not physically to push it. It's actually a mental, emotional, and spiritual obstacle. That's what it is. So lots of you have been chatting with me about this, and this is like any other mass stress response. You've heard before of mothers being able to lift cars off their trapped babies, haven't you? You've heard stories like that. Have I ever told you the story of when my coworker Matt and I dismantled a fence and dragged a full-grown horse out from under it to save his life? We did. And by the way, Matt was like 16, 17 years old. He wasn't a big guy. I was bigger than he was at the time. And we dragged a full-grown horse out and got him standing again, dismantling the fence to save his life. We all know emergency service workers. I've seen a couple on. I know Carrie jumped in here, and I hope she's still on here. We've seen what happens in emergency service workers. The EMS, the firefighters, they have that ability to surge, right? To surge into a situation with limitless energy to save others. But you probably didn't know that they could possibly fall apart hours later into a major fatigue and slump. And I know this because I am connected to so many emergency service workers, and being the front lines, I mean, it doesn't compare, but being the front lines working with animals, you often fall into that category, don't you? Anybody here fall into that category where they have to respond to emergency and they feel a surge of energy, and about 10 minutes, 15 minutes after it settles down, the ambulances come or the emergency is done, that your body starts to break down? This is what we're talking about today. This is, believe it or not, this is what's happening to all of us on a global scale, all over the world. It's the mass stress response and rebound fatigue. Absolutely. It's absolutely what's happening to all of us. I'm so glad you're all here. Go ahead and tag. If you think that this is going to be valuable, or you're watching it later, please tag any healthcare workers, emergency workers, nurses, even like anybody that's on the front lines right now, even your grocery store clerks, because they need to know what's going on inside of them right now and how they can get through this. This is the practice of teaching you guys some techniques and some skills to get you through this wave, because you are, if you have not already, you're going to hit that wall. And I'll tell you the neurobiology, physiology of all of that. Sue, your guys at PSW who comes home exhausted. And this is how I want to help. I'll tell you more about my story so you guys understand where I'm coming from, because compassion, fatigue, and burnout is the story of my life. So you don't know my whole story. So for years, I suffered from what everybody thought was multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis for me presented in multiple symptoms, as it usually does. The main one being fatigue. And this type of fatigue goes beyond what anyone can imagine as experiencing fatigue. So imagine yourself walking through a continuous wave, like any of you that have been through, to Wasaga Beach or any of the big beaches, and you know what a wave feels like they're coming at you and then they're pulling you. Imagine walking through a continuous wave that's already up to your thighs and it's trying to push you down or pull you under, right? It's all the way up to your thighs. You have no balance. And imagine this is happening every day for weeks on end. And no amount of sleep can dissuade it. I wasn't ever tired. I often, it's beyond tired, guys. Your sleeping doesn't solve this thing. And what would happen is I would overeat, especially the wrong things. I would try and fill my body up with pasta and breads and sugar and candy and chips and cookies, because it gave me a quick wave of energy. But that quick wave of energy never solved anything, because the biophysiology of neurofatigue requires so much more to recover. It's not about energy. It's not about fulfilling the stores that have been used up. It's and their neuro-emotional aspects of this fatigue, among all the other symptoms. It set me into a deeper tailspin. So what you're feeling right now, that darkening, deepening feeling that's sweeping the world, and let's be real, most of you are positive and hopeful, amazing, inspiring people, and it doesn't align with who you are, does it? It really doesn't. You're being dragged down by your neuro-emotional and the neurobiophysiology. I can't even speak. This is why doctors like to speak in regular people language. That basically you're being pulled down by the science of that after the first wave of emergency response. And I know how to temper it, guys. This has been my entire life. So perhaps if you're willing to supercharge your response so you can actually continue riding that wave of energy and keep inspiring and leading and helping your people. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to share this with you. Hi, Jen. Who else do we have? Jen. Yeah, Jen is the queen of neurofatigue. The past 2 years, she's been in brain fatigue, and she's out of it now, feeling so much better these days. And I love this because Jen is one of those people that we have worked together to help her with this. Carrie, yeah, you know what I'm talking about with the MS fatigue. And there is a way to help yourself heal. I'm not saying you're going to heal your MS, but there are ways to supercharge your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body. And that's why I'm stepping out. I am a doctor of chiropractic, but I am also the most energetically aligned spiritual leader out there. This is my area of expertise. And it's not, I don't know, it's divine timing that this is what I can give back to the world. So let's keep going. So first, let's review the different stages of the stress response, because this is the emergency massive stress response. This is not you thinking like you have to go to work and do something you don't want to do and how you dread Mondays. This is like your life is at risk, your survival is at risk, your mama bear. Your mama bear like brain response instincts that aren't even thinking responses are happening inside you. And it's known as the general adaptation syndrome. I'm going to give you a little bit of science here, guys, because this is really, really important that you do understand this is not just a emotional response, not just a mental response, not just a physical response, not just a spiritual response. It is the culmination of all of them. And the only way you can really help yourself is if you connect to all of those parts of you and support them all at the same time. So first, let's talk a bit about the science. Is that okay? Are we good? I know, I don't want to nerd out on you guys, so I'm not going to give you too much science. But for those of you who do want to nerd out, we can always connect and talk more. So when you do understand how the body responds, it's a lot easier to identify what the chronic stress response is in you, right? Because it's all going to be different. We're all going to be different, right? Some of us will do different things. Some of us will be kind of the same. And then we make a plan on how to help alleviate it for you and move you into what we call the healing phase, which allows you to regenerate that energy so you can keep doing your life. You can keep helping and supporting your other people. And for those of you that are out there doing that on a massive scale, right? I'm a coach. I am a chiropractor. I am a healer, and I am an intuitive. And so I too got charged into that, ready, let's go, save the world thing. And I hit fatigue on Sunday. So this is also for me too. So let's help each other. So general adaptation syndrome is a 3-stage process, okay? It's 3-stage that describes the physiological changes the body goes through when under stress. I'm reading this because, And it's Hans Selye. If you've ever heard of Hans Selye, he's a medical doctor and researcher. And he came up with a theory of the general adaptation syndrome. I know, it's a crappy name, but we can call it right now, let's change it. Let's call it the mass consciousness global adaptation syndrome. All right, we'll have some fun with this. And he actually discovered this, by the way, for you Canadians out there. He did an experiment with lab rats at McGill University, which is in Montreal. And he observed a series of physiological changes in those rats that were exposed to stressful events. And with additional research, Selye concluded that these changes were not an isolated case, but a typical response to stress. So while I start describing them, you can actually check off which ones are in you. All right, which are yours? Because some of you will respond differently, but these are the general ones that most people experience. And he identified these stages as alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. And understanding the responses and how they relate to each other will help you cope with this stress that you're going through right now, won't it? So, stage 1 is alarm reaction stage. This was us massively on a global scale launching into, especially us in North America, because we're on the same timeline, is launching into our self-isolation, our reaching out to the world, our worry about our own families, and how we are adapting to what's going on. So how many of you know what I'm talking about? In general, we started to alert to it about, 10 days ago. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were expecting something to come along. We started to get those scary messages on the news, and we started to do the math in our heads, and we started to hunker down. That's when the toilet paper thing started happening, wasn't it? Toilet paper and hand sanitizer, right? So the alarm, the alarm reaction stage refers to initial symptoms the body experiences when under stress. Some of you might call this the fight or flight response, which is the physiological response to stress. It's a natural reaction, and it prepares you to either flee or protect yourself in dangerous situations. It can also be the freeze or the hiding response, where you actually hunker down and hoard and store things in your cupboards. And guess what? We all did it. It's okay. It's okay. Please let go of whatever's attached to it. And remember, you have the ability to share with your community if you have an abundance of anything. So what happens in your body? Your heart rate increases. Your adrenal glands release massive amounts of cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And this is a good thing. It releases adrenaline and a mass increase in energy in your body. It puts you in the alarm reaction stage. This massive amount of cortisol goes out and it mobilizes everything in your body. Your body mobilizes the glucose stores that are in every cell of your body. And this is your fast action stores. This is the stores that allow you to lift the car off the baby, so you can escape the tiger or drag the horse out from under the fence. And glucose only lasts a few minutes. It's a few minute response. It's your emergency one-time response. So this is what leads the charge. And then your body mobilizes the fat stores. And it inefficiently converts fat to energy because it doesn't care about doing it well. It cares about saving your life. It cranks out a whole ton of hormones and neurochemicals that keep you, I want you to remember this, it keep you focused, alert, and attentive to get you through the stress or emergency event. Keeps you focused, alert, and attentive. In other words, it puts blinders on the sides of your face so you can only focus on you and saving who you love. Okay? And all of that stuff running through your body gives you this massive surge of energy. It gives you a high, almost like euphoria, doesn't it? How many of you felt euphoric at some point last week? It gives you that feeling of connection and of greater purpose. It actually drives you to be who you are if you're focused on helping and healing and saving others. And so for healers and those who want to help, including our emergency care workers, this massive adaptation alarm reaction response is key. It was key to launching the surge of action, and we welcome it. The problem is what happens after. So I want you to pay attention. I see all of you here, and I want you guys to contribute, even if you're watching later. I want you to contribute to the communication and the conversation here, because each one of you is an expertise in some of this. Whether it's sharing your personal story, whether it's uplifting and holding other people up, the most important thing is that we continue working together, because we are facing that massive energy drain right now. So let's talk about the resistance stage. I'm just going to have a sip of coffee because, oh, you guys got to see this. Who are my animal people out there? Sometimes the simple things, I know it's backwards. Sometimes the simplest things light you up on these days. And every day this is reminding me that I'm a dog mom. because my fur babies are what are keeping me grounded and focusing right now, as well as all my peeps. That's why I'm doing the live, guys, because you guys are part of my healing process. So let's talk about the resistance stage. So this is after the initial shock or stressful event occurs. This is after you finish saving the baby and you've had your fight or flight response. The body goes into repair phase. It goes into a healing phase, and it lowers the amount of cortisol, and your heart rate goes down and your blood pressure begins to normalize. And when your body enters this recovery phase, it does also remain on high alert for a little while. It does. Now, if you overcome that stress and the situation is no longer an issue, your body continues to repair itself until all the things, your hormone levels, your heart rate, your blood pressure, your glucose stores, your fat stores are all regenerated. And you go into this pre-stress state and you feel good and you recover and it's fine. And if your body knows how to do this and it's programmed to do this, such as in our emergency care givers and our healthcare workers and our hospital workers, if you do this on a regular basis, your body has been primed and trained at the unconscious level to heal itself in these stressful situations, hasn't it? It has. But if you're a regular person or the stress is overwhelming and this is not ending, your body doesn't know how to cope with it. This is where my expertise comes in, because what I was suffering all those years wouldn't exactly be called MS. It was massive compassion fatigue. It was massive burnout. And it happened from the age of, I'd say, continuously from the age of 19 when I took over running a barn with like 11 employees and up to 97 horses, until I hit 4 years into my chiropractic career and my entire system said enough. So some of these stressful situations continue to extend for long periods of time. And I think like we're in one of these, guys. So we need to be aware of this. And if we don't resolve the stress, our bodies will remain on high alert. And they have adapt and learn how to live with a higher stress level, which is cool and it's not cool, is it? Right? It's not cool. Because what happens is the body goes through changes that you're unaware of in how to cope with stress. And so consciously you're doing the things that you believe are going to alleviate your stress, but your body, your unconscious body, is trying to take care of you on a different level, isn't it? And what you find is you can't sleep. Your body doesn't really reach that REM recovery state, and all the sleep in the world is not replenishing your sleep energy. Your body never fully relaxes. And when it does, it actually doesn't relax into that calming, recuperating state. It actually is a zoning out, an emotionalist zombieism. Some of us know this state because that's what happens when we turn on TV and watch 2 or 3 programs in a row. And I'm not saying that this is wrong. What I'm saying is it's not recovery. It's a band-aid solution to disconnecting from the emotional and mental and spiritual stress of what's going on around us. And your body continues to rev high on cortisol. It starts to mess up all the systems in your body, your hormones, your digestion, your fat storage. Cheryl says your body stays stuck in responding to crisis and high alert, and it does not know how to go back to calm and recover. And it doesn't. And even our healthcare workers, the ones that are on the front lines every day of their lives, they're hitting this too. Okay? Because this is a massive, massive increase in stress response. And you do like me, you crave the high value sweets, the carbs to replenish your stores of glucose. Yet the hormones that tell you to stop, they don't start actually working. You end up putting on weight, become irritable, tired, unfocused, foggy, spaced, disconnected. And so for you spiritual people out there, the energy workers, the ones that are actually connected and knowledgeable about what's going on inside of them on that level of state, this is often the first stage of what we call disassociation. This is the first stage of disconnecting with your physical state. It's the first stage of spiritual bypassing, in which you're concentrating on connecting to higher energies, but your higher energies in your higher self and your spiritual energy cannot be replaced if you don't physically take care of your root chakra, right? Your sacral chakra, which is your safety, security, your physical connection at the physical body level, okay? Which is why I'm talking about whole body wellness. And your body continues to excrete the stress hormone, and the blood pressure remains elevated. And you may think about managing your stress well, but your body's response tells you a different story. And it's this resistance stage that continues for so long that it pauses to offset the effects of stress, and it can lead to exhaustion. This is the first stage of compassion fatigue and burnout. This is. And so you might not think you're going into there. And you may not if you've learned how to do this work on your own. But I'd say 99.9% of us have no clue. And that's what this massive consciousness is. To me, this is my charge to go out there and say, hey guys, I know how to do something. And so I'm going to share my wisdom with you so that you can take care of yourselves, heal yourselves on that whole body level, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, physical, connecting them so that that inner energy that you have can be replenished, supercharged, and you can go out there and ride the wave. That's why we're doing this. This is why I'm on here. So what happens? The next stage is the exhaustion stage. The stage is the result of prolonged or chronic stress. And this is where we're hitting the wall. It's where our bodies are starting to go. And struggling in this stress for long periods or even intense emotional short periods can drain your physical, emotional, and mental resources, all of that, all of your resources on the inside, to the point where your body no longer fights. Okay? Your body no longer fights. Your body no longer connects to itself. You might feel like you're giving up. You might feel hopeless. And these signs of exhaustion include compassion fatigue or fatigue in general. So when I was in MS fatigue, it was an actual real physical level of fatigue. I could, like right now, my arm is fatigued from holding up my phone. But it was to the point where I could not get up and walk across the room on my own two legs without stopping and putting my hands on some piece of furniture. In fact, the only saving grace about working with the horses in those times when my body was so fatigued was the fact that I could sit on a horse for 6 hours a day and let him hold me up so that my brain and my focus would be on the customers and my horse would lead whatever else I needed him to do. I learned the practice of leaning on others from animals. And so here we are hitting compassion fatigue. And before, let's say 6 months before, I thought this was a big thing for healers. It was the biggest way we can be taken out, isn't it? Compassion fatigue and burnout. But in reality, all of us are here. We are so deeply connected to each other, so emotionally connected to each other, that compassion fatigue and physical burnout could be what really takes us down. What do I mean? I'll go on a little bit more, get to more details for you. But first, how many are feeling that first wave of depression, that anxiety? And it's I want you to give yourself space and realize it's not just this. It's if you've ever been in that stage before, if you've ever felt disconnected, depressed, anxious, decreased tolerance. How many of you are like, I used to be known as Angry Ange. If you set me off, I'd explode. And so decreased tolerance, right? Are you more reactive? This is just your body's response to not having the connection, the stores, to making better decisions. It's an emergency exhaustion response. And so the physical effects of this stage weaken, most importantly, guys, weaken your immune system, actually all of your systems. It puts you at risk for stress-related illness and so much more. And so that is why I'm stepping out. That is why I'm sharing this, because it's not just about the fact that you're hitting the wall and you feel exhausted and you don't know what to do. Because I'm sure you're smart enough to go Google the things and find solutions to that. It's the fact that your body is now in a weakened immunology state, that your body's mental, emotional, and spiritual state are not strengthening your physical reserves. And this is how it's showing up in the world. And this is what I'm worried about. For those in China and Italy, it shows up like this. It shows up like complacency. To stop caring. To basically isolate and be in your home and just be like, I'm going to survive. Right? It shows up because compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is the absence of caring. It's not hate. The world... You can move forward if you hate others, can't you? Hate drives you sometimes. Fear drives you. But what's the worst thing in the world? numbness, complacency, not caring, disconnecting, holding yourself up in a hole. And that's where I was when I hit the deepest, darkest. It wasn't about my hate and my pain. It was about the absence of feeling. That's how I knew that myself as a healer had hit the deepest, darkest place in my life. And so when we hit this, and I hope you never do, that's why I'm here. The bodies are worn out from the stress. There's nothing left to draw on. And because of that, this is when we're at our most vulnerable. And how will we heal as a country, as a people? How will you heal as an individual if you are empty physically, emotionally, spiritually? How will you heal? Yeah. Sheila, I honor where you are. That's why I'm here, because Sheila worked with me at that barn. She doesn't know that on the deepest, darkest days when I was worn out, that she was one of my rocks. And this is why I want to show up. Yeah, tag your people, guys. Even if you're watching later, this is really important. What about those frontline workers? What if this is like the 20 minutes that fills them for the next 24 hours? I want you to connect with them. Let them know that this is so important. For my chiropractors out there that are watching, Kirsten, I see you. Amanda, healthcare people, spiritual people, I see you. Old friends, I see you. Other spiritual workers, my friends, I see you. I see your names here. If you miss it, come back, because the answers are coming. This is about providing solutions. Tag your people and share. By the way, this hurts me to come out and do this live. This is not who I am. I'm the one that's usually helping people from behind. I'm not an in your spotlight kind of girl. So where are we? We are about to hit resistance, aren't we? The initial response is over. The first wave of high energy that so many spiritual people talked about. They talked about this effervescent wave of energy coming through. Well, guys, riding this wave, it wasn't just mass compassion and the love that you were riding. It was your body's unconscious physical response to a major catastrophic stress. Please stop dissuading yourself and saying it's mass consciousness and spiritual energy and healing of the world. Yes, it is. It absolutely is, because that's what we need to connect to heal our hearts. But what about our bodies? What about our physical, actual resources and stores within us? Your unconscious mind set all of this into motion. All the stores of energy that you had on hand, on all of those bodies within you, you are about to hit an empty tank. And I wanted to warn you before it happened, because I know what it's like to sit there for weeks and months on end and not be able to restore myself. We have collectively all hit the wall. And the most dangerous part is because we have hit the wall energetically, and that's what that deep, dark pull is. It is not just a spiritual wall. We have all collectively, the most dangerous part is we are all at risk at hitting the compassion wall too. Compassion fatigue and the ability to stop caring, to turn off, to disconnect, to disassociate from the situation and sink into your little hole in your house is exactly what I'm worried about for all of us, because I've done it. And I'll tell you, it's a good way to take yourself out for a year, a month, a year, the rest of your life. It's a good way to stop if that's what you want. And I know that's not what you want, is it? You are all here watching, listening to me because you feel the feels. And so I want you to connect in with your deeper self. The deeper self that says it's not about surviving, it's about thriving. And the only way you can do it is if you live from your heart and reconnect to all of those bodies and replenish your stores. So are you ready to do it? Let's start talking about that. I'm not even going to go into this piece that I wrote here because it's too deep. What I can tell you is that my mind, when I went through that situation, my mind went under. I believed I wasn't making a difference anymore, which is a lie that my head told me. It was my mental state of disconnecting, wasn't it? I see you guys all here. And And then my heart broke into a million little pieces. I shut down. I walled it up. I became a healer that stopped healing. So COVID-19 is not our enemy, is it? It's our call to change. It's our call to heal. It's to find a way back into our hearts, to recharge our entire whole beings toward compassion, community, and connection. And I'm going to tell you, I don't have the answers to all of it. I have the answers of how I did it. I have the answers to how me as a healthcare practitioner understands the connection to the mind body like no one else. This is my science geekness coming out full force, guys. You think that all the things that you've learned and loved and like geeked out on your life could ever possibly come together in one stitched up quilt? Well, it can, because this is exactly what's happening for me. And as wild and crazy it is the one thing that's giving me hope, because it's what I have to give. It's what I have to give, because I have answers for all of you on all different levels. All of those different pieces of you, those bodies that you are. And at the same time, I know who's on this call. I see all of your faces. You each have the answers for others. And this is where we come together in a community. That's why when I posted about this, there was this thing called the Healing Circle, the Healer's Circle, because that's what this is. It's a massive global community of people who are helpers and healers coming together to provide the answers and the wisdom that they have to others, so we can help massive global conscious healing. And the wonderful thing is, those that are being called up are not the ones that were leading the charge up until now. We've been the silent, quiet introverts that love from behind and help heal the world. And now we're being called up to lead. We're being called to lead where we should be. The leaders in the past, if you look back into our ancestors way, way long time ago, the leaders of the community were the healers, weren't they? They were the spiritual leaders, the emotional, the mental, the physical healers that helped, that led, and they were given reverence. They were given reverence and honor for what they did. And so I'm asking you to step past your own fear, to lean into reverence and honor for those people you serve. And so, what do we have for physical, mental, and emotional solutions? I want you to focus on the physical. And if you have a piece of paper, guys, yes, and I'm loving all the hearts, I'm seeing them, and I want to respond to all of you. But let me get through this, and then we'll continue this conversation here. And if you want to continue it in the next few days, I'll come on live and we'll start doing more. Okay, we'll connect as a community every day. And so let's talk about the physical. What can you do for your physical self? Most of you are already attempting to do this. So I want you to remember your physical body needs to move energy. And it does not mean you need to go and do all of the hard physical activities that you did to keep yourself in absolute peak condition. I'm actually going to dissuade you from doing that. Because as a person who is energy drained, and my stores were they were always on low while I was going through my MS. I'm doing the MS because that's not actually what I believe it was now. It was just absolute physical burnout. Is this: the stores are low, and so you must honor the stores. So please stop running. Stop doing your 30 minutes of treadmill or whatever you're doing. I want you to focus on energy replenishing physical activities. Walking, hiking, yoga, dancing. But believe me, dancing is huge for me because it's an emotional and physical release at the same time. So those type of things, replenishing, restorative. There's a lot of people doing free yoga classes. So get in there, pick one up. Tai Chi, Qigong, all of these levels of moving that allow your body to connect on the deeper levels, not just physical. I want you to start feeding your body the right foods. And I'm not saying don't eat the muffins that are in your cupboard that you bought. Because believe me, I had a muffin last night. But I'm not eating all muffins. I'm being very consciously aware of the carb overload. Because carb overload makes me sit on that couch. It makes me go back into the hole. So I want you to concentrate on foods that fuel you. No, I'm not going to give you a list of foods. In general, feed yourself foods with high vibrational energy. Feed yourself foods that are bright and colorful and that excite you. Go online and maybe if you're a cook, like, right, if you're a nutritional expert and that's your geeky thing, go online and share some recipes that you have. Maybe it's like pulling out, like we did last night, the chickpeas that were in the cupboard, and we pulled out a can or a bottle of tiki masala, and I mixed up this warm, yummy, carby vegetable loaded in the greens. Did you know asparagus goes really good with tiki masala? So I loaded that in. So fuel your body with the food. Fuel your body with the food and allow yourself to have an outlet for that energy that doesn't serve you, right? I was joking with my older sister yesterday about us going to get whatever old dishes that we had downstairs that had sat there for years that were never going to get used, and literally have, and this sounds really ridiculous, guys, a dish throwing party to get the anger out, because that's how I used to process my anger. And as terrible as that seems, when you let those emotions out of your body in a physical way that's safe and healthy, then you allow yourself to move through them. Because ask yourself, are we going to be able to get rid of all the anger and stress and fear in the next 30 days? We can let it move through us. We can let it emotionally move out of our bodies. So that leads us to the emotional things. So for me, I might throw some dishes outside somewhere where it's safe, set up a tarp and throw some dishes at the wall, right? What other emotional ways? Please pick out a journal. Please journal your experience through this. I actually have one client that I'm working with who has been writing, actually two, and I think one of you at least is on the call here, that have been working through their process of healing over the past years and decades by writing their own stories. They're writing it down so that they can process it. And I don't know if they'll ever publish these books that they're writing. I do hope that they do. The fact is, allowing it to come out of your insides and down on paper allows you to become aware of the emotions that you've been feeling. It allows you to give purpose to them, which can push them into the place of hope, recovery, and allowing yourself to forgive yourself. So in that emotional sense, I want you to release some of that stuff. And it might be that way, or it might be you calling me and we do a timeline therapy session over Zoom. There are so many ways to release the emotions. The most important thing is, because guys, I am an expert in mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health and wellness. The most important thing is you actually become aware of why that emotion is there. So can we all agree that we know why stress is here and anger and fear and all of that? I want you to process why it's here and then allow yourself to let it go. Another way is to change perspective, to put yourself in the shoes of someone else. Please put yourself in the shoes of someone else. There are a lot of people there reacting in fear, and it's not about them. It's about who they love and who's at risk. There's a lot of people posting on social media in the blame game and thou shalt not game and you shouldn't and don't and how dare you kind of emotional attitude. And it's not because, they're those nasty, vindictive people. It is really because on the inside they are scared for themselves or someone else that's at risk. Right now, I have a personal family friend, the mother of one of my best friends, who has COVID. Lucky for her, she is one of the most loving, compassionate people I know. She's very well connected and she's making light of her situation with humor. And so she is in recovery right now. And so how can we put ourselves in other people's shoes, change perspective so that we can actually connect with them on a whole emotionally as another person? Because would you be reacting the same way if you were pushed up against the wall? Another way to get past your emotions, again, is putting yourself into action. And for healers and healthcare professionals, this is the path that they often choose. This is why some people out there went right into massively putting out there something new in their business. And I know, because that was what I was doing too. It was reaching out. This is why I'm doing this. Reaching out to those people that are ready to access help for themselves to come through this process, help for themselves to empower themselves to be able to let go of the stuff that doesn't serve them so that they can protect themselves, mind, body, soul, right? And by the way, that does help your immunity, doesn't it? And so what I want to ask, if you are one of those people, is if you're moving yourself through that business entrepreneurial launch in love and compassion, and to do it without fear, because fear repels, doesn't it? Fear is where salesy people become salesy and desperate. And so if you need to, I want you to connect with me and check out of the sales until we can bring you back into emotional alignment with your loving, compassionate self that you really, really are. And believe me, it takes probably 1 or 2 conversations. And the mental sense, what are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? I know that you really, really want to know the statistics of what's happening in the world, and that you want to continue connecting with others. I want you to ask yourself, does it serve you to be watching CNN or CTV News and focusing on the disaster and all of the things that are happening? Or could you just check in once a day and get those details from a reliable source? I've had people sending me video clips and stuff like that about what's on the news. And I have had to respond, I love you and I appreciate your concern. And I know this is coming for your compassion for me. And I'm choosing not to watch these things. I personally am choosing to get my updates from the sources that I need to get them from. Number 1 for me as a chiropractor is from my college of chiropractors on how I'm supposed to run my chiropractic business. Because I want to make sure I'm on the right, in the right alignment of serving, especially my patients that can't make it into the office or I will not allow come into the office. I want you to connect with the actual statistics and the sources if that's what you need. And maybe you do need that. I do need to know what's going on in my hometown. I did need to know that my friend's mom was sick, right? So what are you focusing on? Because what you focus on, guys, is what actually rules your emotional, your mental, and your physical state. And for the spiritual people out there, I want you to actually connect with yourself, with your physical state, with your physical ground. And it's not just talking about grounding. It's actually connecting to your whole body and aligning with the fact that you are actually part of this on this world right now. And you have chosen to be here, and that no amount of overriding it, hoping to go into 5D vibration, is going to change the fact that you are in this physical state now, and that you're part of this, and that your choosing to disconnect does not serve your people either. Yeah, that's a hard one, because I love you all, and I know why you're doing what you're doing. It's your way of surviving. And that is why Dr. Angela, trainer and master hypnotherapist, has not done a meditation live online. Because meditation, and too much meditation right now, is a way of disconnecting yourself from the reality of what's going on around you. It's the same thing I used to do, putting yourself in a hole, putting up all the walls and saying, I am not part of this. I refuse to accept it. It's spiritual denial. It's what we call spiritual bypassing. And I know that we've all done it because it's kept us alive. It's how I survived MS, or whatever we call that, emotional, compassionate fatigue and massive blowout, mind, body, soul, emotional burnout. That's what that was. It's how I survived. And my greatest mentor and coach in my life, she's on here, Cheryl, my twin sister, who'll probably cry when I said this, was the only person who called me on it. And she's called me on it multiple times this year when she was worried that I was doing it. Because we could be getting massive downloads and connection to the higher realms, and we could be using that as an excuse to stop living our physical lives, connecting with our people and serving them. So I want you to write down So many of you watching, 17 of you still here. And I'm watching the names come in and out. And believe me, I'm going to, connect with all of you on some level in the next week to be able, not just on here, but, energetically, all of that, to say, how can I help you? But what I want you to do right now is to write down physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual solutions for yourself, whatever they might be. And if you have some to share, if you're brave, if you're ready to step into that place where I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm stepping into recovering for myself, learning how to ride that wave, allowing massive energy to flow through my body so I can recover because the stress isn't going away. We need to teach our unconscious selves, our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and all of it, our wholeness, how to ride the stress wave because it's not going away. It's not going away. So right now is your massive learning stage on how to ride this phase, how to ride the wave. And I want you guys to share with each other. Okay, I want you to share. And financial, Amanda, I absolutely want to bring financial in on this. I'm not sure if everybody's there yet, but our value and our worth to the world right now is changing, isn't it? How many of you spiritual and emotional mental healers out there, are actually feeling the call to give your value, to give your wisdom and your knowledge? It is actually currency. Isn't this currency? It's currency. And so this is my currency to you. And for those of you that have been following, I'm going to be real. I am launching a program called the Healer's Code. And it's about how we not just survive or sacrifice and all of that in this time. It's about how we actually thrive, how we succeed, how we find success and thriving with each other. And it's not about you as an individual. It's about you and who you serve. And so the Healer's Code is about that. And I want to offer that to you without making it a cheesy selling thing. Because if you're still here, obviously you're here for a reason. But if that calls to you, I want to offer it to you. And I know a couple of you on the call are already ready to go with that. But the Healer's Code is this healing journey. And it's designed to take you through the healing journey while you step out as a healer. Funny enough, I've been writing this program I started in July, and I hit so much resistance while doing it. I actually hated writing this program because it turned up all of my old pain, and it lit up the scars, and it made me aware of all the times I'd faltered and what I thought was failing. But each one of those was lessons. It was about learning how to lead in this place where I've suffered the deepest compassion fatigue, the biggest burnout, to the point where, man, if you guys know my story, I lost the entire use of my right arm. That's what my body did to me to get me out of the chiropractic career for 4 years. It took me 4 years to get back into my chiropractic career. And so while writing the program, I really hit all of it. And what happened was I realized the gold, like the diamonds that were underneath of it all, that magical glow where it all made sense, it all stitched together. And that's what the Healer's Code is about. It's about finding all of the magic, the wisdom, the secrets behind all of that which you suffered, and being able to use it not just unconsciously, not just like out of your awareness, but to use it with volition, with intention, to go out there and use that pain as your purpose, as your passion, to create a path so that you can move forward as a healer. And that means that you need to finish that healing journey. It means you have to finish that healing journey and step into leadership. So if you're interested in that, please, 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 please let me know. But to finish this all up, guys, what is it that you need? What is that you need for yourself? And I'm going to come back and just go through a couple of these comments because some of them are really profound. I'm going to roll right all the way up. For your frontline workers, guys, whoever they might be, please, please, please share this with them. That's the goal of it, is to let them know that there is somebody out there that knows how they feel, and there is also solutions, and I have them for you. Yeah, there's all these shifts going on. Jennifer says, I'm taking life one day, one moment at a time and living in the now. And that's what's most important now. It is about living in the now, connecting with your people. And I'm going to add something in, because how many of you have hit that disaster thought of the future moment? Like, we're all going to hit it. It's reality. We're human. And the key to getting out of it, the key to stepping away from anxiety is this. If you can recognize the disaster that could possibly sitting in front of you, your physical body needs to do something about it. Your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical body needs to do something about it. And so here's what I would suggest each one of you do. Number one, if you, this is going to sound really, really bad, so please just listen to the list. Number one, if you have children and animals or any other dependents, please set up a plan for who will take care of them if you are not here. Okay? Sounds really bad, but that's it. If you have that planned, you will find relief. So for those that have dependents, like I have 3 dogs and a cat, and I have my sister's horses here, we have a plan. So make a plan. Please write it down somewhere, which could be a will. If you don't have a will, please write one down quickly. It doesn't have to be fancy. Write it down, share it with people that are in your household, have each other make a plan. And number 2, put some stuff in your cupboards. And I'm not talking stockpiling for like months and months on ends. Do you have enough food in your house for a week? Or maybe 2 weeks? Do you have enough that you can eat stuff even if you don't like it, right? How many of us have stuff in our cupboards that we absolutely do not want to eat? Yeah. Well, could you eat it if you had nothing else to eat? Cool. So, and it's okay, because for me, it's craft dinner. I do not want to eat that. My stomach doesn't like it. However, there's craft dinner in the cupboard and it's kind of stale, and I don't care. If the fall comes down to it, I will eat that stuff. Also, it's the same thing. Like my dogs, if they have to, they will eat dog food, like canned or kibble. And that's not what I want them to eat. But that's my plan. So do you have your disaster plan? Do you have like all those things set up? Do you have the list of phone numbers that you have to call? And does your family have that as well? It's not about disaster planning. It's about making a plan. Because here's the thing. If you have the plan, you'll probably never need it. Right? That's what this social distancing is about. It's so that it doesn't feel like it's such a disaster. We're avoiding disaster. And number 2, now that you've had the plan, please focus on how you're going to avoid that by doing all of the most amazing things to support your own immunity, support your own health, support yourself. What are you going to do? Jennifer says the generalized adaptation response is what we utilize in fitness training too. It goes much deeper than that, as Anne shares, and it does. I'm not going to go into the neuro science, physiology, blah, blah, blah. It's actually conditioning your body to react in stress, which is why those stress response workers are able to do so much more than what you and I might be able to do, or that somebody without this has to do. So I want you to actually gently and joyously condition your body for stress. How are you going to de-stress? This is where those yoga things can happen, those mental and emotional. And that's where meditation does happen. It has to come through as how do you de-stress, not how do you disconnect. Okay? That's the light side of spiritual and energetic connection. All right, so are you making a plan? And if you need help with this, let me know, because I'd be more than happy to come on and talk about making plans and how to let go of some of this other stuff. So to top it all off, it really is, guys, this is your body's reaction. This is the world's reaction. We can't run away from it. We can't hide from it. We can't fight it. It is just how we are built. The animals understand it. The animals, it's an animalistic, deepest, most recessive, oldest part of your brain ability to react. And so as your energy stores, as your ability to respond has changed, you may be falling into or hitting the wall. And it is just a normal reaction. What isn't a normal reaction is finding a way to get yourself out of it. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm coming forward and teaching you this, because it's very important that you take your own mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health into your own hands. Come on, you can't see your chiropractors. Your medical doctors are probably not taking any appointment except emergency cases. You definitely don't want to be going to the ER. And there is places like telehealth and emotional support lines out there. They are overwhelmed. And so I'm going to ask you to be an advocate for your own health, for your own wellness, for your own whole body wholeness, and to connect with the sources that you trust to support you through it. All right? And I'm here for you. So go ahead and tag your friends. Please leave a comment. Please leave some tips for others if this is something that you've been dealing with for years or you're an expert in, because that's how we all grow as a community. And if you haven't yet, please join the Healer Circle. I will drop the link, or maybe somebody else can drop the link in here, and we can geek out on the neuroscience, the biology, the body's ability to heal itself, how the body remembers, all of these things, the emotional codes, and all of these amazing ways to help take responsibility for helping ourselves in this time. So focus on hope, focus on caring for yourself so that you can continue caring for all of the people that you love, including the rest of the world, because we are the healers of the future. We are the leaders of the future. And first, you must heal yourself. I love you all. I really do. I'm going to go before I cry. I will see you all soon. Stay connected, guys. Stay connected.